Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, you got it.
Wow, I was going to introduce everything, but you could just hit buttons. I'm Josh, and somewhere over there is Pete, doing Pete stuff. And you're hanging out with Brown Dog Gadgets. I was going to get to the social media, Pete. I'm not one that usually does these live streams anymore. Amanda is, but she is off today. So instead, it's me and Pete talking about MicroBits. MicroBits, we love MicroBits. Check out my MicroBit. Pete, I think something happened. I clicked and dragged, and my MicroBit got so big.
And biggened it.
Look at that, smiling. Look at that.
And biggened it. That's a good. Look at the animations on there. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing what we can do with technology these days.
Skilled programmers here at Brown Dog Gadgets.
It's
I'm
true.
over here, by the way.
That's Pete. Pete's behind the camera.
Control room.
He's in the Matthew Broderick film War Games.
That's true. Been trapped in this film since 1982.
I mean,
whenever it came
young
out.
Matthew Broderick. I mean, not bad. But we're from browndoggadgets.com.
True.
Yeah. If you like us and want to see more of our stuff or not see our stuff, you can find us on social media galore, all these fun places. And you can find all of our resources at learn.browndoggadgets.com. All of our code, diagrams, projects, guides, curriculum, everything is up there for anyone to use anytime. For free. It's true. Whether you like us or don't like us, our resources are there. I prefer tic-tac-toe, Mike.
I think Mike knows the movie War Games.
Oh, yes. Would you like to play a game? Anyway, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Yeah, right.
What else am I forgetting? Oh, if you have any questions, you can email us at help@browndoggadgets.com. You can leave a comment, ask a question if you're watching this live on the social media places like Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, if for some reason you're an educator who's using LinkedIn.
We get tons of views there.
Don't know why you'd want to do that, but you could do that. Do we really, Pete?
Oh yeah. People are like, man, I need a new job. And they're like, look at this, Brown Dog Gadgets. What's this? And then
do you occasionally get like, are you guys hiring? I'm like, I wish. I could use more people.
Someday.
Staff not trapped in 1980s. Cold War comedies. Is comedy dramedy? Not dramedy. Anyway, today we're talking about our MicroBit University, which is our ongoing project to document the heck out of the MicroBit in a little extra ways than what the MicroBit Foundation might do. This would be adding in the common parts we get questions about, how to control LEDs and sensors and servos and use the built-ins, make them all work together. Basically, poor Pete is working his fingers to the bone to make tons and tons of little guides that show how every part that we have, which are most common parts that you'd have for a MicroBit, how they all interact together. So if you have two random components like, wow, I wonder what this LED will do with this distance sensor, how can I do something with it? There's going to be a little tiny guide with an example and a diagram and code to show all those fun things together.
All true.
You adjusting the camera, Pete?
I am, because we're going to...
Switch it overhead. No! Gotta get my giant MacroBit.
Wow.
It's just like the real MicroBit, only, huge. Look at that, it even lights up. Pete, what if I'm only interested in an appetizer? Oh.
You got the whole darn meal, though, with the big one.
At the meal, the appetizer, and what this is? A little snack. It's a little tiny, it's an after dinner mint. By the way, these are fun 3D. I like showing these off because Pete spent so much time doing these for trade shows that we're not doing this year. Pete actually designed these from scratch. These are 3D printable files we'll put up on our website eventually. Is this just copper PLA?
Josh, yeah, it's a whatever gold. You say from scratch, but we actually used the vector files from the MicroBit Foundation to create the 3D files. So
sure,
at a starting point.
I guess but you did design the 3D model from the ground up.
I did that.
And this is just copper PLA black. And we have Bamboo Lab PS1 printers that can do more than one color. These are a separate print right here, but it printed off very well in multicolor. Yeah. We also the reason Pete did this is because I came to him with a cool little 5x5 LED matrix I found on Amazon, which was like the perfect size for using for this. So that's why these light up. There's little Pi Picos and AAA batteries on the inside, but we designed these to take to teaching conferences. You have a big Lego minifig that holds onto one with magnets. Looks very fantastic. We're not doing that show this year now because of tariffs and fun stuff, but we'll show it off. And Pete, are these aren't up on our website yet, are they?
No,
we haven't.
Now that I got a slight break, maybe I can work on some of these files we need to get up there.
We should put something, because we'll have both the files for printing these off as well as the couple electronic parts, because it's not a Pi Pico, is it, Pete?
We used
something similar.
It's a Zhao. Seed Studio's Zhao, but it's a RP2040 chip.
It's a little tiny $8 board.
Yeah, and the Picos are like $4. You can't fit the Pico in the smaller one.
You can fit one in here, but not on the other guy.
Yeah.
And then just the matrices we got off Amazon, which were like $5 each. We have 4 of them in here actually, but Pete also has code for it. So if you want to make a nice big 3D printable MicroBit, because I always would see like gigantic ones at teaching conferences from different companies. A lot of acrylic ones. One really nice one out of cardboard that was gigantic. But this is a nice, eye-catching yet also not super tough to make, but looks fantastic version.
Right.
Thanks, Bamboo Lab. Your textured build plate looks really nice. Anyway, enough of this. Let's get to like our fun of what we got going on here at MicroBit University. First off, today we'll be using our bit board, which is our breakout board for MicroBit. It breaks out all the pins from your MicroBit to go from just the 3 I/O pins to the 18 different pins. We also have power management and should be color. This is an older one. It's not color coordinated, Pete. It's a black one. So the newer ones we have in stock are.
I had to give them to the warehouse.
That's true. The warehouse needed them. We got more in stock now. But we also have power management as well on here. So you have 5 volt and 3.3 volt. That'll come off of this. So we have yay power management. And then you just plug your MicroBit in here. Life is good. We are using our nylon conductive maker tape to make a literal circuit board with a Lego base plate. We have a red LED, just a standard 10 millimeter red jumbo gumdrop sized LED. And this is a potentiometer, which is the main focus. Is how to use the potentiometer with a MicroBit to do some fun effects. Now we're going to be doing something very simple. We're going to be using the potentiometer to change the brightness of this. Is that correct today, Pete?
On this, we have 4 examples, Josh.
4 examples.
And that is the first one. So.
Yes. And in the future, as we do more MicroBit University, we'll be using this potentiometer to do things such as sweep a servo, change the way NeoPixel LED matrices work, move numbers up and down on a 7-segment display. So some other interactivity aspects to it, sound effects. But this is the first one we've done with a potentiometer, so we're starting from the base level, which is LEDs. So I'm going to break out over here from this really cool MicroBit caddy that somebody in our office, whose name will go unmentioned. Is it you, Pete?
Probably. With your help, you suggested that angle, which is very nice. Oh yeah, a little 2-color.
We also hold our bit boards too, but we had a lot of MicroBits we do for stuff like this. Like some little caddy, you can plop them in. We're just Pete, is this up on our website?
No, been doing the university stuff.
Pete's been really, really busy with MicroBit University. It is sucking up all of his time.
Cranking out like 4 things per week.
So. I'll have to do this before next week. Get up on the website or sometime next week.
I'd like to do that during next week. So.
3D printers are best used for making office organization things, custom ones, because this
Gridfinity.
It really it's kind of nice. But anyway, I'm going to grab this guy, the first one out of here, because this is the first one. Ta-da! I'm going to plug it into our bit board, and we're going to, ta-da! I'm going to plug in my easy-to-plug-in JST connector, unlike the one up top. My only big complaint about the MicroBit, that connector up top is a pain. So we've got our red LED is on. That is coming off of pin number 8 on the MicroBit. It's labeled right here. You probably can't see it on screen. Going over to ground, we've got our potentiometer, which is hooked up to pin 0, ground, and 3.3 volt, 3.3, ground, and here to pin number 1. We do have a little jump here. We're going between the studs because...
Yeah, show them that little thing. So this tape is in the gutter and actually goes underneath. So that's not a connection right there. I don't know if you can angle it all, Josh, and show people that, but...
It is between. You can do a 2-layer circuit board on Lego above the studs and then under the studs. That's a much better picture. That's much... Because our 1/8-inch tape that we use here, 3 millimeter, if you want to get metric with it, fits perfectly between the studs, or in the gutter, as Pete might say. And and then you can go over the top. You have to plan it out ahead of time. You drop the gutter first before you do, like this pathway, for instance. It's just planning things out a little bit ahead of time. But Pete has done what? You had one project with 3 potentiometers hooked up.
Yeah.
And it was a whole sound effect thing we did years ago, but
it was a step sequencer.
Oh, it's documented on the website. It was actually, but it was for the Arduino stuff we had. Anyway, we turn a potentiometer, which is just a variable resistor, going from 0 to, I want to say, is it 10,000 on this?
1023.
10,000.
What? 1023. What do you say, 10,000?
1023? Oh, 1,000. Sorry, 0 to 1,000.
So Josh, fun fact here. You may remember from your Arduino days that PWM for a LED, 0 to 255, right?
That does sound like a thing.
Correct, but
I learned
with
once.
the MicroBit in MakeCode, it's actually 0 to 1023.
Oh.
So they've, kind of changed. If you're an old timer like me, you're like, wait, not 0 to 255? No. So Josh, if we look at this code, I mean, this could not be simpler, right?
Yes.
What are you doing? Why are you removing?
Sorry, I was just saying, I can remember what the ohm resistance was on these.
What was it?
I should know. I don't know, because
it
it's got a couple numbers on it, and I don't remember what they mean off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's been a long time since we designed this part.
I'm guessing 10K, but who knows?
It's probably 10,000.
Maybe Mike has a guess. I don't know.
Whatever.
Well, Josh, look at this. Here's our code.
What?
Yeah.
That's easy.
LED enable. We don't even need the screen. We're just going to turn it off. Which we don't even have to for this because we're using pin 8 and I think pin 0. Those don't use the screen, but we just turn it off when we don't need it. And then all we're doing is doing an analog read on that pin 0, which is on the potentiometer, and feeding that value directly to pin 8. So, I mean, I can't be simpler than that, can it?
Pretty easy.
Pretty easy.
Forever.
So I'm thinking forever. Yeah, you've got your on start. It runs once at startup, and then this loops forever.
It's a very easy way to make your LED dim.
Yeah.
If you have an LED one, change the brightness. At full brightness, it means Gondor calls for aid.
Ooh.
At 0 brightness, it means everything's A-okay.
Just watched that like a couple weeks ago. Anyway, Josh, let's see our second example.
All right. Well, I'm just going to... Oh, is it hot swappable? Let's just unplug. That'll be nice.
Yeah, it should be because the MicroBit will get power and
it'll reboot. I know.
Yeah.
I just want to do something stupid. Like, I'm like, it's on fire. No,
I can start something on fire again if you want.
It's been a while.
It has.
I can. There you go. Hand coordination.
I know.
Perfect. Okay. Reverse brightness. So meaning you turn the
reverse. So Josh, it looks like it's hooked up backwards. I don't even know what this one. So the only thing we did different here, if we look at our code, there is a little more code, and we'll get into that. So again, we're turning off our LED matrix, and over here we're using we're setting a variable called pot value, and we're actually using the map function to invert it. So when the potentiometer gets 0, it's going to output 1023 to the LED. So instead of on, you've got off, you got on kind of thing, we flipped it. Now there's one more thing, Josh. We found out, I think last week, we did the potentiometer, we saw a value of 0, but we only got up to about 1019 or so when we turned it all the way. And I don't know if that's because of extra resistance from MakerTape or some LED or some potentiometers just they don't always hit that 1023, right?
Yeah, I think
it depends. I've had some that they almost always go to 0, but sometimes they just don't go all the way.
Our MakerTape last time we did testing years ago with that massive video. I think it was you, Ben Nelson, and I did.
I didn't do it. You guys burned a bunch of tape. Right?
We tried to. We tried to. There's a very, 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 very exact way with the right tools and the right amount of over-the-top current that you can possibly make like a little flame happen.
It just fuses like a fuse. It just burns out.
It typically does, and we were able to do it like in testing. As soon as we got to camera, it just wouldn't do it for us.
Right.
But I do know from that that long video where we go over especially ohms per foot on our tape.
Yeah.
Especially for the quarter inch that I have in my head, but it's only like 1 or 2 ohms per foot.
Yeah, it's pretty tiny, right?
Especially as a quarter, and we're not doing much here, so I imagine 1 or 2 ohms very negligible. Unlike with copper foil, 0 ohms basically, because it's just copper. Anywho,
well, Josh, since we saw that we weren't getting totally up to 1023 with the potentiometer, we just added in this little if statement here. So if the potentiometer value is less than 20, we just set it to 0. No. So as long as you get close, so it'll go from like full brightness, and as you turn it down, as you get pretty darn close to that end position, it'll just gets anything under 20, it'll just drop it to 0. So a little extra in there if you need it. Just an example of how you can do that.
I mean, there's situations where this would probably come in handy. I don't know what those are off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, and for the map function, now I've done Arduino things where you can sort of fake it out and pad it. So you might say from 0 to 1023, you might say from -10 to 1030 or something. And then since it won't ever hit those values, it'll, work out in the math, that mapping. But it didn't seem to work here, so I just went with that if statement. Seemed to work well. See what Mike has to say. Oh, yeah. See, Mike read the card.
On the documentation we include with the part, that's what it says.
Yeah.
Well, good thing we had that on the documentation that Andy made.
And he also measured it, so I assumed it was 10K.
Yeah, plus or minus 10%.
Yeah, basically.
For the kind of potentiometers we're using, they're not super insanely scientifically accurate.
Is that classified as a trim pot or not?
I think so.
Yeah, because I mentioned you could put a little screwdriver in it. Looks like on the top of it if you needed to.
Yes, I mean it's got a little arrow that points there.
Yeah, and you could
also pop the top off.
Slide a screwdriver in there.
The cap can come off of these.
Oh yeah.
If you grab it just right and you pull, it is a little cap on top.
Break it.
I'm not gonna.
We still need it.
Well, no, we're not gonna eat it.
Okay. No, don't break it. We still need it.
I'm not gonna do it.
No,
I'm not. Just saying you.
Your headphones.
I'm gonna take this off.
Okay, let's do the next one.
Let's just. Is this what happens when Amanda's not here to do this?
This is what we always do.
It just gets a little crazy when I'm involved. And this is one. Whoa!
I know, right?
It's a rave.
Yeah, and I'm sure at some frequency there it'll do some funky camera thing, but
yes, I was slowing it down so that it is not. So this is actually a common project that we get asked about, and that seems to be a very go-to thing for a lot of projects is using a potentiometer to change the speed of something. So how fast your LED blinks, for instance, is a very good one. So as we turn the potentiometer, it gets faster and faster and faster. And I'm turning it very slowly here because there's that very chunk of middle ground here.
Yeah. Mike likes our high voltage knife switches, by the way.
Our high voltage knife switches, our maker tape knife switches, which is one of my favorite projects on our website.
We mentioned how on the instructable guide for that, some old electrical engineers are like, danger, you don't use this with high voltage. We're like, no, sir, this is an educational project for children.
Yes, our motto here is, when in doubt, remember they're educational projects for children.
For children.
We live in a world of between 1.5 volt and 5 volts, maybe 5.5.
I saw 6 once. I swear I saw 6 volts.
Okay, some of our solar panels are open current 6 volt, but typically you're not gonna get that. I think our biggest panel is 6 volt at 200, so it's not even 1 watt of power.
Do you remember the time I stacked like 20 CR2032s and got like 80 volts or something?
Yeah, Pete did that. Somewhere on YouTube, there's a fun video of somebody daisy chaining together like 59 volt batteries.
Yeah.
Like one to the next.
Kids don't do this.
Don't do that at home.
No, terrible idea.
You want to.
Funny idea, but.
Thanks, YouTube. But anyway, this is a fun Blinky project.
All right. So let's look at the code for this one. So again, we turn off our LED. We've got a forever loop, and it's going to call our blink function. And we're actually going to pass in a number, and the number is what we're getting from our potentiometer. So this time we're going to map our values 0 to 1023 from the potentiometer to a scale of 0 to 500. And when we call blink, we're going to pass that number in anywhere from 0 to 500. And then it's going to do something weird here. It's going to do some math, or maths, as some people say. So it's going to take that value. Let's say we pass in a 2. It's going to multiply it by 4.
Oh.
Why not? Just a little reminder, you can do math. Anywhere you want to type in a number, you can do an equation. You can do some math in there.
Oh, sure.
And then it's going to do our classic, turn the pin on, turn the pin off for our blinking. And we're going to use that pause value to pause in between the on and off.
Oh, I get it.
You get it? I hope you get it. Yeah, you should get it.
I do, actually. I am following along, Pete.
Any questions on this, Josh?
No. Will this be on the quiz later?
There's no quiz here, Josh.
Thank God.
That's for the classroom, and we don't do that here.
So, yeah, if we're at a potentiometer value of, let's say, 500, 500 times 4 would be
2,000, right?
At 2,000.
Which would be 2
seconds.
Or 2,000 milliseconds.
So.
Yeah. So it's just a nice way to show you can do more than just brightness. You can vary as you said, this is a popular project. So.
Well, and that's also too with the Pete's code aspect of there, the times 4, how at its highest value you'd have a 4-second blink, and then as you're going down, like it gets fast really quickly. It goes from being like, okay, slow, 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 and then just like, okay, it gets fast. Like, doesn't take much on the turn to get that blinky thing going on with it. So kudos, Pete. You've made a blinking LED.
Yeah. And again, the whole idea is you play around with these numbers a little and see what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, just as I said, this is the first potentiometer chapter for
this is the
MicroBit University.
Second, but yeah, last week was the first.
Sorry, the second chapter. And we'll be using the potentiometer with basically pretty much every part that comes after this is going to have a potentiometer component to it.
Cool.
As we go forward, because we're getting into the servos and sensors and other things in there. So that's pretty cool, Pete. I'm going to put that last one in here.
Let's do the last one.
Guide number 4.
Or D.
As in dog?
No. As in dopentiometer.
Dodecahedron?
Yeah, why not? All right, let's power this up and see what happens this time.
Now we got a fade function.
Yeah. So let's look at the code here. So this one we're doing a fun thing, which again, since Mike's around, if you've done Arduino stuff, you're like, wait a minute, you can't have 2 forevers. Well, you can in the MicroBit world. What it basically does is just runs them concurrently. So you can have as many forevers as you want, and it'll run them concurrently. It will affect, I think, timing of specific things if you're trying to get things perfect, but that's okay. It's a little trade-off for making things easier to program, I think.
Well, it is a very, very slick platform for programming. That's why we like the.
I think, yeah, for learning programming, definitely, it's really.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as you saw, Josh, as you turn that, you're going to kind of change the speed of the pulsing or fading. I assume that's how it works. Yeah.
Bam.
Bam, indeed. So this time we're going to set a variable called brightness. We're going to set it just at the beginning because when it gets called over here, we want it to be 0 to start with. And that's going to be increased. So we're going to increase it by 5 until it reaches 1023 or higher. And it's going to break out of this while loop and go down here. And if it's 1023 over here or whatever, it's going to then lower it or decrease it by -5, and loop around. So that's how you see it getting brighter, 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 and then dimmer, 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 dimmer. So that's just working on its own there. And then what we do with the potentiometer is, again, we're going to read it and set it to, we're going to map it onto a scale. So we're just doing 0 to 10 this time. So we're going to pass in a value, or we're not even going to pass it in, it's just going to read it basically. So we're not using a function this time, but since those loops are both running at the same time, it'll create the value there, it'll read it in the other one. And that's where we're using it for our pause. So basically you're changing how long it'll stay at a certain brightness, anywhere from 0 to 10 milliseconds per step. So Josh, if we're doing, let's say, 1,023 or so steps divided by 5, what is that? What's the math on that? It's like
really?
200. Yeah.
204.
Not good at
remainder
math.
of 3.
What is it? 250? No, to 250? 200. See, I'm terrible at math.
204 with remainder of 3.
There you go. So about 204. So it's going to step through 204 times on each of those, and it's going to wait anywhere from 0 to 10 milliseconds each time. So that makes sense, right? Now it seems like the 0, it should just go flying fast, right? But it doesn't. So there may be a little more delay. Mike has a few comments. Let's see what he has to say.
Mike has comments. Wow.
Oh. Yeah. I bet. MicroPython and Python on its own is a really great language. You can do cool stuff. But yeah, I assume they haven't implemented the multiple forever blocks because it's Python. So you've got your kind of startup thing and forever loop, as it were, kind of similar to this. But yeah, you probably have to deal with counters and all that other stuff. Let's see what Mike says. A second, yeah, we could, as we get into multiple. We're going to need a bigger base plate, though, let me tell you.
I need a bigger plate.
Yeah, but yeah, you could certainly adjust multiple variables that would affect the output, definitely. That's a great idea, of course.
If only we had larger base plates in the supply closet.
So Josh, does code make sense? Any questions
Pete,
on that?
It does.
It does.
I know enough to be dangerous, not enough to be super useful when it comes to code.
But yeah, with a single LED, think of all the things you could affect, and you can do all that with a potentiometer.
Exactly. And potentiometer is just a really easy way of providing input into a microbit for a wide variety of things. As we go further too, again, one of my favorite ones is using potentiometer with a sweep for a servo. Very simple. It's a very instant cause and effect the students can see, and they can control. They're turning a little knob. It's creating physical, real-world motion through the code that they set, which I think is a nice, powerful tool for them to have. Using it for sound output as well is a really good one on here. I do like it as well when we've used multiple ones before for, we have a NeoPixel strip. It's 8 LED NeoPixel strip, so you can change. So you had your classic Larson scanner going back and forth, changing the speed, changing the brightness, changing the color. So if we had 3 potentiometers, we could change 3 different variables on that, which would be nice. And when Pete did that with a step sequencer for, pitch, tone, and speed of the sound. Yeah, like a little chip tune thing going on.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the pitch, the tone, and it was pitch, volume, and the speed at which it went. They had a little 8-note little sequence it did. Yeah, it was very nice. It was a really good demo we used for ages. Well, unfortunately, the trade shows. Oh gosh, there's far more of those than I remember.
5.
Oh, we have this in MicroBit too. My bad.
So there's 4 of them for the notes, and then the 5th one is speed, I believe.
Okay.
Step speed, speed.
Well, and here's a good example of multiple potentiometers. It's not that rough to wire them up.
Yeah.
You've got each one going to a data pin. Looks like it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 on there. Then you have all the positives hooked together, all the negatives. And again, Pete's doing the over/under, but I believe that's just all the
ground.
The grounds are along that channel.
Yeah.
Which
easy.
Map that one out first. Everything else just goes on, and then you have 4 LEDs up top to do something. And in this version, there's a piezo speaker. Although the MicroBit does have a piezo on board these days, version 2.
Yeah.
We always try, if we use the potentiometer, we always try to throw an example of a piezo speaker. There we go. Another P word. If we have a project with a piezo speaker, we also show if you don't have one, like an older MicroBit version 1, here's how you'd wire one in. So you don't have to rely on only MicroBit version 2s. Although that was one of my biggest chief complaints of version 1 was there's no built-in piezo. And then version 2, wow, there you go. Smart people running the MicroBit Foundation stuck that in there. Put a little microphone on there too. The changes they made in version 2. Super, that's exactly what people were asking for. But anyway, we'll work our way up to bigger projects with multiple potentiometers. This is a good example where we're going with this for LEDs and sound. But if you are enjoying this, please check out on learn.browndoggadgets.com all the other MicroBit University chapters. This is chapter 12 of, I want to say we have 40 chapters planned out.
Yeah.
Because it just, as we keep going, it's
a lot.
It's adding in each of the parts, and we're going to add in we have a moisture sensor we keep in stock, we have a relay we keep in stock, other little components. I believe, Pete, also you at one point you wrote a nice write-up on how to use a rotary encoder.
I believe we did, yeah.
And that's something that I know we'll throw in there kind of towards the end, other parts that are uncommon usages. That rotary encoder is kind of like a potentiometer, but it spins forever, and each little click is a step up or step down number-wise. Kids often group them together mentally because they're things that spin that affect a microcontroller. A rotary encoder might be like a old school stereo systems used a variable resistor like this for volume. Turning it up, turning it down, it was all with a big potentiometer. Your modern car stereo has a volume knob that spins forever, and that's a rotary encoder. It's constantly telling step ups or step downs. And that works pretty decently. Yeah. We don't see that very often with MicroBit because it's not a go-to part I think people think of, but those little sensors are $3-4 on Amazon. Oh, it has a built-in push button on it too, doesn't it?
It does.
And look at that wonderful 3D printed little holder for it that somebody designed. If only those files were free on our website.
Right there, look at that.
Oh, they are.
Look at that stuff.
And we'll stick up our other files for this and our gigantic MicroBit and medium-sized MicroBit in the future. We have a lot of 3D printable files. Anything we design that's useful for this kind of stuff, we try to throw up on our website as a free download, just because. Pete, there's a bunch of MicroBit stuff on there. Would you mind just showing that in our learn.browndoggadgets.com? Click on guides next to the Brown Dog logo, top left.
Oh yeah, guys.
There you go. It's top middle.
Top middle.
Next to ebooks and between ebooks and getting started with electronics. Top row.
The 3D printing.
Yeah, 3D printed part. Sorry.
I thought you meant MicroBit.
Yeah. So yeah, Pete has designed a lot of fun little MicroBit things over the past few years. Even a gigantic arcade button enclosure that we've used with MicroBits.
Yeah.
And a couple fun holders, like that one at the bottom, that the super basic game controller. If you have a MicroBit and a 3D printer, this is a great way to not have to have the kids carry a MicroBit and the battery pack that comes with it, just freehanding it. We've got a compact version and a standard version, but feels very much game controllery. That's a really handy one to print off. Yeah. It's just a caddy if you're walking around with the MicroBit or doing something where it requires the MicroBit to move and whatnot. Less likely to drop it. But Pete has a bunch of little sensor holders and whatnot that pop onto Lego. Even the NeoPixel beam holder, I think, is the latest one you did. That's for a NeoPixel strip, but it has some holes on there for connecting with Lego Technic. Screw down the NeoPixel strip. Right. Then you can just attach it to a Lego Technic beam or Lego Technic compatible component.
Yeah. We have two versions too, depending on which orientation you want.
It just, there's Lego Technic pegs on there. Again, we're trying to make sure that different ways of connecting parts together, because Lego Technic's really handy for building a three-dimensional design or scaffolding, because every kid can do it lickety-split. But how do you get your parts to then attach to it without rubber bands? Which we doing. Plant watering system. That's what we did. I think it's the other one, the capacitive one.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's the updated one with the new sensor that we have, the capacitive sensor. Plant watering system was a project that seems to be a very big go-to one for a lot of schools, because you can connect it with smart farming practices and sustainable farming practices, vertical farming, and whatnot. And this is just using a sensor to test for moisture levels in soil, a water pump that's hooked up to our MicroBit via a relay so it can turn it on. And then we also threw in the extra variable of a little LED light. Now that plant is way too big for that light that we have there. Way too big.
That's what I had when I made the guy.
It's one of the many plants in our. Pete, we have a wide menagerie of plants in our break room. A very wide menagerie of plants. But at the time, this made the most sense. But you have the added variable of amount of light, with color, length, brightness of light in there. We've had a teacher who purchased some of these sets of materials, and we don't have a kit for this. We just, here are the parts on our website. Here's the code. Here's a write-up. It's not a full, ready to go kit. But purchased a few sets of this stuff for a summer program he was doing, and they sent us back a couple pictures. They had hooked up multiple relays to one MicroBit, and they had a couple different types of liquid they were pumping over. So one was water, which was connected to the moisture sensor, and then they also had one that was like water with a little bit of fertilizer mixed in, which would just do once a day or once every set number of hours. And I can't remember what the third one was, a different type of solution they were putting in there. But I thought that was very interesting. And also it was just more of the same, just another relay, another 9-volt battery, another water pump. And we have some very nice little water pumps that are not going to break on you.
Yeah, and the code for this is not crazy complicated, I don't think.
No,
you tell me.
That's why they cloned apart and just set it for time versus checking. So having multiple water pumps doing multiple things, kind of like aquaponics was a big thing for a hot minute in the world of Arduinos, using smart systems to regulate water going into a fish tank, nutrients going into a fish tank, and then that traveling over to a plant-based solution to filter the water and then back again. Yeah. Again, very sustainable practices for both agriculture and fish farming. But there's lots of easy ways to connect to that real-world stuff going on, and smart gardening is always interesting. As someone who likes to garden, smart gardening is kind of interesting, and is a very interesting way to connect things with kids. So yeah, this is kind of usual Josh chatting. Let's just chat about 18 things, because why not? Thanks, Mike. Mike, you should hang out with us sometime. Have a root beer in the afternoon with Pete and I, a nice Sprecher root beer, and chit chat. Come by our offices, Mike. We're just a very long plane flight away.
Yeah,
he's in California, I think.
Though,
but anyway, so this is Chapter 12 of MicroBit University.
I'm glad they stopped drilling, Josh.
Yes, our neighbors are finishing up their build-out next door. It's just drywall behind us between our two units here, and today they were installing pallet racking and drilling into concrete, and right on the other side of the wall during a couple of phone calls and Zoom meetings.
I think he's saying noise, but there's a typo.
No, he's saying noise.
Oh wait, is Mike in it?
From Ohio.
Oh, that's right. He's not in
the Buckeye State. The downside of Ohio is you have to drive through Indiana to go to visit us. Ooh, shots fired, Indiana. Been there a couple times for some stuff.
We love our teachers and customers in Indiana, of course.
We do. I was down in Terre Haute.
By the way, Josh, this is producer small versus producer large.
Oh, producer small versus producer large.
Yeah, so there's two of them.
I'm glad we have large Pete and
I made a guide.
Family friendly Pete. Just in the corner. I'm gonna unplug my giant MicroBit so it doesn't run out of MicroBit power. But no, cool beans. So if you have any questions, give us a ring. Follow us on social media or not. We're usually Amanda is here every week doing this. We'll be taking next week off. Actually, next 2 weeks off from live streaming. As we're running a large workshop on MicroBit stuff. If you'd like to know more about that gigantic free workshop, which is full for the year, we do it every year. Pathfinders Summer Institute, yay! Thanks Pathfinders Institute for granting us funds to give things to teachers. We have 210 teachers across the U.S. signed up for that who should have a big box of stuff in their hands by now from us. Yeah. We're learning a lot of stuff. Actually, a lot of this MicroBit University stuff And then more robotics with our Bitboard rover and higher end stuff with sensors and servos and whatnot. But we'll be doing that again next summer as well. And so if you're ever interested in that, email us. We'll send you some information and put you on the list to be notified when that opens back up again next year. Or otherwise, just give us a ring. We're around 9 to 5 Central Time every day. Happy to chit-chat. But otherwise, check out our resources. They are fantastic. I've been Josh, and that's been Pete over there. Hey, Pete.
Yeah, hey.
And my dog is Chips the dog, who's underneath this desk, wanting attention.
Down
He's down. He's taking a little snooze.
Okay.
Yeah, dogs. But anyway, catch you in 3 weeks, and it'll be Amanda, not me. So
right.
Even better, because she is more on the spot. But excellent. Have a great afternoon.
All right.
Thanks for watching. Please visit browndoggadgets.com for parts, projects, and curriculum. Follow us on social media @BrownDogGadgets. We'll see you next time.